Thank you. My name is Chimurenga Waller. I'm with the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement and the Africans Charged Genocide Working Group of that organization. I'd like to thank the working group for allowing me to speak here today and all the host organizations as well. I did want to comment a few minutes on the economic questions that the sister raised, and I'm going to talk about them in the context of where I live. I live in St. Petersburg, Florida. Most people don't even know where that is, but it's 240,000 people, 42,000 of them are African, and 71% of the Africans live at or below the poverty line. So we have a situation in St. Petersburg where you can't find a corner store owned by an African anymore. So I really think that the topic you raised is so important because I think Africans have to regain their sense of ownership, because I'd rather make $20,000 for myself than go and work on a job for somebody else who can lay me off tomorrow, and that becomes a big factor. I worked, just to give you an example, there was a corner store owned by some Africans for probably 30 years. They sold it to some Palestinians. I went in there one day, and the guy who sold the store was in the store again. And I said, "Oh, you bought the store back?" He held his head down and he said, "No, I work for them." And I couldn't say a word. I was so stunned. And I think this is an example of how we kind of participate in disenfranchising ourselves economically. Because now you can't find a black corner store. And that used to be part of the central part of the economics inside the black community. But what you are seeing now happen is McDonald's and Burger King coming into the black community, where they would never do that before. And we say that is not economic development, that is capital extraction. Because they can give you a job, take that capital and go back to the bank, deposit that money, but they call it economic development because they give you a job. But you don't own anything. So we say if these companies are coming into the black community needs to own 51% of them. That needs to happen. If we are going to have any kind of commerce in our community and control over our economics, that needs to happen. That's pretty much what I wanted to comment, because I think it was really important what the sister said. I want to appreciate that. So I'm going to be talking about police brutality and extrajudicial killings. And I wanted to discuss them in the context of some things that have happened outside of some of the cases that you've heard about Eric Garner and Mike Brown and people like Kerry Ball in the St. Louis area. In 1996, before anybody ever heard of Ferguson, there was a young man named Tyrone Lewis killed in the middle of the black community. 42 people witnessed it. There was a rebellion shortly after that murder. And it just so happened that this killing happened 3 blocks from our headquarters. So we were on the scene almost immediately, educating people, passing out flyers. And it was a pretty intense situation, October 24, 1996. And this brother had been stopped in a so-called police stop. They said they suspected it was a stolen car. We've heard these stories before. So the cop gets in front of the car, demands that he get out. He won't get out of the car, so he shoots him twice. Once through the hand, once through the heart. And then he said, he tried to run me over. That's why I fired. So, state attorney, of course, eventually says it's justifiable homicide. And before they do that, they are going through a 3-week period of decision making. And on November 13th, they decide that they're going to come back with a grand jury decision. And The police are everywhere in the black community. They're riding 4 deep with shotguns sticking out of the car. The door is open in a very threatening manner in front of our office, up and down the street all day long. So about 12 o'clock comes, they start arresting members of our movement for things like, oh, you got an expired tag. Oh, you had a warrant from 2 years ago. So now they're arresting our movement. Our regular meeting happened that Wednesday at 6 o'clock. People are in the street now because the police are kind of agitating the people all up and down the main street in the black community. And people are outside our office. So we tell them to come inside for the meeting. 6 o'clock is approaching. It's about 150 people in there. And just as Chairman O'Malley Shatella, founder of our movement, starts to start the meeting, somebody comes in and says, the police say that we gotta empty out this building because this is an illegal meeting. And if you don't leave, they're gonna shoot tear gas. Before he could say, we're going to leave peacefully, tear gas starts flooding through the door. The room fills up with tear gas, people are scrambling and panicking and running for the back because we have a door that separates the back of the room. People are trying to find their children because now it's a big cloud of tear gas. Everybody's coughing, they get in the back, we go to the back room, and we are now separated from the tear gas, but we're trapped in this building. And the police have lined up across the street about 300 strong. Police from the highway patrol, city of Clearwater, all over the area, they got these 300 cops lined up. And they're stopping people from coming to the meeting. So we try to get the people out the back door, they shoot tear gas in them to drive them back in. They finally are able to get out the back way, but we're still in the building. So we're kind of discussing it, trying to get some of the tear gas out of our eyes. And eventually, we make a break for it. And they start shooting tear gas at us. Now, there's a church across the street from our office. Our office is a 2-story building. By the time I went across the street, ran across the street to my car, I couldn't see our office anymore. There was so much tear gas. It was like a mushroom cloud of tear gas. We were to find out later that they used every canister of tear gas in the city of St. Petersburg on that building that night. And the city council people were complaining, saying you shouldn't have ran out of tear gas. That was the complaint. So this brother's life, Tyron Lewis, has really impacted the city of St. Petersburg. We believe it's genocide. We believe the United States should be charged with genocide. It's not a new problem. It's a 400-year-old problem since Africans were brought here. And we believe that if we look at some of these cases outside of the ones that are so popular, we will see things just as horrendous as what happened with Mike Brown, as what happened with Eric Garner. For 8 years, because of our work, we didn't see a police killing after the 1996 killing of Tyron Lewis, because we demanded economic development for our community. But in 2004, they started their tactics again. They killed a young brother named Jarrell Walker, shot him in the back as he awakened on the sofa. His son, baby son, was in the other room. 2005, they killed 17-year-old Markwell McCullough, shot at him 17 times and hit him 14 times. And then said, oops, he's the wrong person. Nobody was ever charged. By the way, St. Petersburg, Florida is kind of interesting. No police officer has ever been charged with killing an African in the city of St. Petersburg, ever. So, and this still stands. So I think it's really important that we look at cases even like Tyron Lewis's of the world, Javon Dawson, who was killed in 2008 shot in the back at a graduation party. That was justifiable homicide. Justifiable homicide is continually being put forward by the police as a justification for these murders. I think it's important to note that if you look at some of the other cases, more well-known cases, some of the same kind of factors are involved. For example, Tyron Lewis, they say they tried to run that he tried to run them over. So I want to thank you again for your attention, and hopefully I can answer any questions you have.